All right, today we are diving deep into a really powerful idea for our crazy, hyper-connected world, digital minimalism. So let's get right into what that actually means. You ever notice that? The people who just seem the most focused, the most centered and in control of their own lives, they're often the ones who are barely online. Well, that is definitely not a coincidence. Today's explainer is all about breaking down the psychology behind why that is. You see, at its core, digital minimalism isn't really about getting rid of your phone or hating technology. Nope, it's a mental shift. It's that moment you have a realization that you wake up and think, wait a minute, my attention, my mental energy, it's just way too precious to be throwing it away on an endless, mindless scroll. So this isn't about, running away from the modern world and living in a cabin. It's about consciously waking up from it. It's an act of deprogramming ourselves from these habits that were, let's be honest, designed to keep us distracted. And this whole process really breaks down into 4 key principles. Okay, so let's jump into our first big idea, the dopamine trap. This is all about outgrowing that constant need for validation from the online world. Just think about it for a second. Every single like, every comment, every new follower, it gives you a tiny hit of dopamine, that little pleasure chemical in our brain. And it's so easy to get hooked on that cycle, right? We start outsourcing our own sense of self-worth to these online metrics. Digital minimalists make a conscious choice to just step out of that trap. And this quote, wow, it just gets right to the heart of this mindset shift. When you disconnect your self-worth from what other people think online, it becomes internal, it becomes stable. You own it completely, and it's not up for debate anymore based on how many likes your last photo got. All right, on to our second key principle. And honestly, this is a huge one. It's all about learning to treat your cognitive bandwidth, your mental energy, like the finite and incredibly valuable resource that it is. Picture it like this. Every single time you open an app and just start scrolling, you're making a withdrawal from your mental bank account. Minimalists get this. They see each moment of distraction not as some harmless fun, but as a real cost. A cost to their focus, their creativity, their peace. And when you actually visualize the problem like this, it can be pretty shocking. For so many of us, these digital distractions are silently eating up the vast majority of our cognitive budget. It just doesn't leave much left over for the things that really move the needle in our lives, like deep work, learning new things, and actually creating something. But here's the amazing part. This is the upside. When you start to reclaim that mental energy, something incredible happens. It's called the incubation effect. By unplugging from that constant stream of stimulation, you finally give your brain the space it needs to breathe, to connect ideas, to solve problems, and to let your absolute best thoughts bubble up to the surface. And all of this leads us right to our third big idea, rejecting digital conditioning. This is about understanding, really understanding, that a lot of these platforms are just neutral tools. They are actively, brilliantly designed to manipulate our psychology. Think of something like a hammer. A hammer just sits there in your toolbox, right? It waits until you decide you need it. A social media app, though, it's a totally different beast. It's engineered from the ground up with one main goal: capture and hold on to your attention for as long as humanly possible. It doesn't wait for you, it's constantly trying to pull you back in. So, how do they do it? Well, this slide breaks down the secret sauce. It's a psychological principle called variable reward reinforcement, and it works exactly like a slot machine in Vegas. You pull the lever, or in this case, you flick your thumb to scroll, not knowing what rewards you're going to get. And it's that unpredictability that is so unbelievably addictive. It creates this powerful, hard-to-break psychological loop. So what this all comes down to is this. Digital minimalism is really an act of reclaiming your own autonomy. It's you making a conscious choice to be in control of your own mind, rather than just being an unwitting subject in what is basically a massive global psychological experiment. And that brings us to our final point, which touches on something a little deeper, because beyond just productivity, there's this profound connection between digital minimalism and the sheer power of privacy. I mean, this visual really says it all, doesn't it? In a world that is just filled with constant digital noise, silence becomes a sanctuary. That real peace of mind, the kind you need for deep thought, it thrives when we disconnect from all the chaos. You see, the minimalist philosophy understands that not every experience needs to be captured, filtered, and then performed for an audience. There's a quiet power in just living moments for yourself. Keeping parts of your life private isn't about hiding anything. It's about preserving the authenticity of your own experiences, completely free from the pressure of an audience. So let's just be perfectly clear here. This whole philosophy, this whole idea, is not a rejection of technology. It is a promotion of intention. It's about you strategically choosing which tools actually serve your goals and which ones are simply draining your most valuable resources. So we're going to leave you with this one question. Think about it. Your attention is the currency of your life. It's your most precious, non-renewable asset. So take a second and really ask yourself, where are you truly investing it?